So de-escalation in the Middle East is good news for everyone except maybe the citizens of Iran who would like to see a different regime. But that is for them to decide. That is their country, and it's for them to decide. But what we saw in the markets today was definitely some uncertainty when we first heard about Iran launching missiles at a US base in Qatar. And it turned out that that was more of a symbolic retaliation. And it looks like some off ramps have been given on all sides. So we're learning actually that there's a ceasefire also between Israel and Iran, that the US and Trump has come out and said that basically, thank you for giving us a heads up, and we'll talk to Israel on your behalf to work out a ceasefire, broker something there. So what all of this amounted to was, as far as the markets are concerned, some volatility for sure intraday. We saw big drops in risky plays like quantum stocks, but there was a lot of recovery by the end of the day. And it looks like futures are up and risk is back on. So let's dive in. We're going to take a look at 4 different tickers. We're going to do this in about 18 to 20 minutes is my goal. We're going to look at IONQ. We're going to look at SealSQ, LAES. We're going to look at BigBear.ai, which made a nice push today, and SoFi, which is starting to get into more of a fair value range. We're going to look at all those, and we're going to look at some of the recent news. Let's jump right in. So stock futures are jumping as Trump says Israel and Iran agree to a ceasefire. So that's a lot of green across the board, almost 1% on the S&P futures, Dow almost 1%, NASDAQ 1%, and Russell above 1%. And a lot of the tickers that we talk about on this channel are in the Russell 2000 or small cap. Trump thanks Iran after attack, which was choreographed to de-escalate. So it looks like wanted an off-ramp, did not want to see escalation in this war, and neither did Iran. So good all around. And just to offer my personal opinion, since I am half Iranian, since my dad was born in Iran, my opinion is that the regime in Iran isn't really in a position of strength at this point. And there's probably a non-zero chance that a lot of the citizens there would jump at the opportunity for some sort of change in government. And if the regime there can't control kind of external forces, then what would happen if they got into a long drawn out war is they wouldn't be able to control the internal forces either. And I think it was a calculated decision by the regime to stay in power to de-escalate this war. And it works out for global markets and the stock market, and it's just better around if war is not prolonged. I don't know if you guys saw this, but SealSQ, we just did a spot on this weekend, a long interview. I'll put the thumbnail on the screen, but definitely go watch that if you're interested in quantum cybersecurity. So this company, WiseSat Space and SealSQ, launch a new satellite with SpaceX, enabling the first ever D-pin from space and advancing quantum safe communications. So according to their press release here, this mission represents a breakthrough in space-based cybersecurity and decentralized infrastructure, marking the first satellite to embed SealSQ's quantum root key. So their quantum root key is up in space. And their stock was down in the basement today. So we did see some movement after hours. We're going to take a look at the stock heat map as well. So overall in the market actually had a pretty good day. Most of the bigger companies got some love. There were a few tickers that were down a little bit, but overall pretty solid day in the market, given that missiles were shot at a US base. It's amazing how fast information travels and how fast things change in our world, our connected world. So just heading over to the quantum watch list, this was a much bloodier list earlier in the day. I will say that. In fact, you can kind of see the day chart on a lot of these. There are some V-shaped recoveries toward the end of the day, and they still ended up red. So which tickers did well today? So IBM continues their absolute monster run for the last, it seems like, year. And we know that IBM, of all these quantum players, these are the guys who have $1 billion in revenue from quantum. So they're actually sitting upon the throne as far as just revenue is concerned. Skywater is doing well. IONQ had a nice day. So we're going to talk and look at the technicals for IONQ. And then going down the list, getting into more of the sell-off piece of this, we had QUBT that had some dilution. They had an at-the-market offering, I believe, for tomorrow. Investors didn't like that. The stock was down at one point 18%. And these stocks do tend to run together. So if one stock is down, many stocks are down. LAES, which we've talked about multiple times, and we will look at the price action, was down 8% today and got hit the hardest. And even QBTS, Rigetti, all of the peer plays took a little bit of a haircut today. But let's look at extended hours and see if that sentiment is sticking. So post-market change, we can see that LAES, after that successful launch, is looking at a 7% post-market change. So that is nice. So almost eliminating the loss from today, and definitely a bullish setup going into our green markets tomorrow. Rigetti's up 4% after market. QUBT, a little bit of recovery. QBTS, not quite erasing the gains, but still in a decent spot after market. And we can see down the watch list, and we probably most stocks in the market are going to be green after hours, but definitely some recovery started as long as macro can hold up on the quantum front. So let's jump into IONQ. And IONQ, so I became way more bullish on IONQ when they had their acquisition of Oxford Ionics and Lightsync. I'm going to put that up on the screen. If you're interested in quantum, or you're interested specifically on IONQ, I definitely recommend going and watching that video. But basically, long story short, those were huge acquisitions. And the company, from a technology and revenue perspective, I think we're going to start seeing in the next year, 2 years, 3 years, really the benefit of those acquisitions and those technologies. So where are we on the all-time chart for IONQ? We closed today at 41, and in post we're at 43. And the highest IONQ has ever gone is in the mid 50s. But we can see this really nice rally happen during the quantum frenzy. There's this dump down through April during tariffs. And then lately we're kind of at this resurgence, the like new life for IONQ stock. And if we look at just these really long candles, we can see after this 40% day on IONQ, the most it's really given back, and it's never fully given back the move. You can never get back IONQ at these low 30s. It's really wanting to spend more time in this 40 plus area. And historically, IONQ, when it's up here, has liked to move up higher. So IONQ, while it seemed to be stuck in this 40 area for a while, I could easily see this stock anytime go and retest its all-time highs. There's a lot of momentum behind this stock, especially with their acquisition. I think we could see definitely some price movement coming out of IONQ. If we look at the last 5 days of trading, even today, we see that V-shaped recovery, the nasty sell-off intraday, and then this beautiful rally that has continued through post. We're in an area with IONQ where you have to start to wonder what's next. So we've kind of been zone controlled here between 36 and 41, between those two price points. But we have significant recent history. We have almost a week and a half of history above the price point. So really, what IONQ needs to do next is it needs to get above 43 and then hold above 43. If I bring back my lines, we can see that a little bit easier. So we need to get above this 44 actually, and then we'll be in this zone again, this 44 to 48, where we can potentially start chopping around this channel. And then ultimately, if we break 48.68, the next stop would be retesting all-time highs. Now, if we really zoom out, and if you really want my honest opinion on where IONQ is going, I think we are very early still with IONQ. And I do think over the years, this company is just going to increase in value based on the revenue they already create, their technologies. If you kind of just zoom out and have some imagination about what the company is doing, the importance of their acquisitions, and the fact that they are doing pretty well financially, this could just be the beginning of a much bigger move for IONQ into the future. All right, let's take a look at BigBear. So we talked about BigBear a lot on this channel, and BigBear is not a quantum stock, it's an AI stock. So my overall theme with investing is AI, tech, and quantum. And really like what we want to see from BigBear, what investors want to see from BigBear is that early 2025 rally and push on the contract. And we see that just as fast as BigBear pushed up, it sold back down. And it has been quite the roller coaster of a stock. But we can see that even in just the last couple months, there's been a very steady uptrend in price action for BigBear. I've called this on the channel before, but really what's happening is BigBear at this point in time is building a base of support between 370 and 440. And you can see that we just ended today at this 417. And as a long-term holder of BigBear, I love to see that price action because what we're seeing is we're building up a new bottom, really like around the high 380s to the 4. If it can use $4 as support going forward, it has a lot of room to run. So if we look at this previous rally that took place over a few trading days, that is what investors are looking for. And if we look just at the one day, we see we had the V-shaped recovery today in the stock. And if you were day trading or swing trading this and you bought that dip, you were up 10% just from that. And really investors are just like, okay, what's the catalyst? What's the next thing to move BigBear up to the next level? Because we've seen that it can move explosively. We know that's kind of the nature and character of BigBear as a stock. Is it ready to take that next step and move higher? And my personal guess is that yes, BigBear is looking for a move up in the near term if macro is to hold up. Most of the price history is below $3. So this sort of area we're in right now, building up the stock and giving it a price history above that $3 area and more in that $4 area is super healthy for the stock long term. And we like to see more green candles for sure. But this is sort of unhealthy movement, and this would be more of a healthy movement. Of course, BigBear.ai isn't SoFi. It's not a bank. It's not going to just walk up. It's more likely going to explode up. And something like a major catalyst, like a major deal or a major contract would be the catalyst that could give BigBear that green candle that a lot of people have been waiting for. All right. So we're going to look at SoFi, and then we're going to finish this video looking at LAES. So I've been in SoFi for quite a while, and SoFi is a fintech bank, and they're making a lot of money, and their marketing department's great, and they don't have a lot of overhead. And Wall Street has kind of sent SoFi down when SoFi hasn't produced profits. And what I mean by that is they haven't put profits at the center point of everything they do. The management at SoFi has put long-term growth also in their plan. So we can see that that down here in April, SoFi could be picked up for $9. And we closed today at $15. Personally, I think fair value for the stock is more like 20. And I don't think that it's going to be too long until we get to see if my theory is correct, because if we look back to early 2021, when there was a lot of excitement about SoFi and we had multiple spikes and dips, we're starting to get into this area where I think this 16, 17, 18, while I'd love to see SoFi build up some price history, I'd also like to just see SoFi move up and retest some of these. So you're probably like, well, Majid, why do you think it's just going to go up like crazy? Because they beat on earnings every time and they're printing cash. That's the reason why I think the stock is undervalued. And I think they're a legitimate disruptor in the financial space and in the banking space. I think we could definitely see SoFi this time next year be a $25, $35 stock as long as they are able to continue delivering on their financials. So SealSQ, we've talked a lot about lately on the channel, and I just wanted to do a follow-up because we had some pretty aggressive price action to the downside today. A lot of stocks saw aggressive downside. So going all the way back to IPO, the very tip of the candle was $30 a share, and that sold down aggressively to under $1 a share, 50 cents a share, under $1. And then we had some pretty impressive candles in December with the rest of the quantum frenzy. And that was the beauty of a candle there that sent the stock all the way up to where the wick touched $11. And then just in short order, we had some sell-off. And now we're kind of in this area over here where SealSQ has moved down, and we're still kind of in this potential reversal, potential move up. And it's hard for me to call it a bullish reversal if we're under 388. And I will bring up 388 because it does come into the equation so often with SealSQ. And we can see that right now, LAES is chopping around, and all the way back to the 19th of May, it was holding this rising support. So we have some wick touches on the rising support. We had some explosive movement, move down, wick touch, explode up, move down. The difference today is we moved down below that rising support. So that means the stock is just moving up. If we look at the averages, it's not moving up as fast or with as much volume or velocity. So the volume over here looks really good. The volume has been moving down, which you want to see more volume. We close in about the middle of the RSI, which is good because we saw the after hours price movement has been looking pretty bullish. And what a treat for all the viewers. If you've made it this far and are hearing me yet, look at that. The stock is trading at 388 after hours. It's almost like they're trolling us. And let's look at the 1 day. So we closed at 361. And just in after hours, just after that launch, we see at the top a 13% move. And now we're just sitting right on this yellow line. And this yellow line is just an imaginary line. It is a meme at this point, how many times it's come into play. So it's LAES rejected off of this yellow line probably a dozen times. And then once it gets above, it starts using it as support. Now with this new flight, this new news that we're seeing in after hours, it's very possible that LAES just has a really nice day, a really nice green candle day, and blast through. Maybe it goes and tests its recent highs. We'll have to see. All right, guys. So we just covered 4 stocks, covered the news. I gave my opinions on kind of where I think some of these stocks are going, and just the broader market in general. I think things are looking really good this week so far. So definitely position yourself. And also, if you're trading stock like this, today was a great reminder that if you're uncomfortable with a certain level of risk, set a stop loss, protect yourself. Let's say you've made 30, 40, 50% on one of these plays, and you're like, this is really good. I want to secure those profits. At any time, even after hours, you can go in and you can set a stop loss order so that your brokerage will automatically sell those shares for you if it hits a certain point. Anyway, that's all I got for you. Hope you enjoyed this content. We'll talk to you soon.